welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Ines Kaluma, and please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. In today's video, we're going to look at grief counseling. So, grief, this is a reaction of loss. It could be loss of a parent, a pet, or a loved one. So, these grief counselors, they help an individual to deal with losses, and they are mostly found in places where death isn't a stranger. We have what we call the categories of loss, which includes relationship. So, relationship, this is where now we lose the loved one, illness, divorce, separation, abandonment, regression, abuse within a trusted relationship, moving out from parents' home, or moving out geographically from a friend. We have what we call some aspects of self. So some aspects of selves, this is where now we have the relationship loss, abuse, sexualized violence, illness, physical change, hope, major change, disappointments. We also have now what we call the treasured objects. So treasured objects, these are objects that give a self-identity, and or we can say they are objects that connect to a memory or sentiment. Lastly, we can just say that these treasured objects are objects that treasured from the past. And lastly, we have what we call the developmental. So developmental, this is whereby someone has been dumped by a lover, loss of a job, loss of a law in a family, growing up and having to be independent, miscarriage, loss of freedom, and retreatments. We move on to the types of counseling. First of all, we're going to look at the normal or uncomplicated grief. So this one, it's a type of grief which happens for a short period of time, and a person who is experiencing this type of grief, it is very possible for them to continue to function in their basic daily activities. Secondly, we move on to complicated grief. So, complicated grief, this is the type of grief which takes place for a long period of time. The contributing factors in complicated grief include looking at the nature of the loss or death. The counselor must know that was that death sudden, was it violent or multiple, and it is also very important to know the relationship, personality, life experience, and other social issues. We move on to delayed grief. So, delayed grief, this is a reaction. This reaction can be excessive to current situation of loss, and person may not initially realize that delayed grief is the real reason for becoming so emotional. That's it. We move on to anticipatory grief. So, anticipatory grief, this it can be difficult for family members of such an individual to speak with others about anticipatory grief, because the person is still alive and they may have feelings for guilt or confusion as to why they are feeling like that. Now we move on to chronic grief. So, chronic grief, this is when now a person is feeling helpless or is feeling like they've lost value in themselves. And if this type of grief is not treated, it can develop into several clinical depression, and it can develop into suicide or self-harming thoughts. We move on, we go to cumulative grief. So, cumulative grief, this is where now an individual experiences multiple losses within a short period of time, whereby maybe just the mother's death, 1 month has just passed, that person hasn't yet forgotten about that, then the mother dies, something like that. Multiple losses are experienced by an individual. We go to masked grief. So, masked grief, these are negative behaviors that are out of control, and they are unable to understand this type of behavior. It is related to loss. So these are negative behaviors that an individual shows which are out of control. We end here, guys, and in my next video we're going to conclude this topic, grief counseling, on the same types of grief counseling. Now we're going to look at the distorted grief. And please, guys, remember to subscribe to my channel, like, share, and comment. Bye, guys. See you in my next video.